What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Ignace, and today it's another Filmmaking Friday. And as Halloween is around the corner, we are actually looking at some effects that are kind of scary, and a perfect example for that is Stranger Things. Stranger Things is an amazing show with plenty of amazing visual effects, in my opinion. And today we're going to see how to create that Stranger Thing upside down red sky effect with the monster, the shadow monster, in the background. So really exciting tutorial. And if you enjoy watching this video, please give it a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. And without further ado, let's jump into Adobe After Effects and see how it is done. Alright, so here we are in Adobe After Effects, and as you can see, this is the result that we are trying to achieve in today's tutorial. So a really cool effect. We have some kind of lightning that is kind of constructing the background, and then boom, it gets all bright over here with a nice shadow monster in the background. So what I will be providing you guys is the footage. This is the footage that I used to create the final result, and then also the monster right here, which I just drew in Photoshop. And you can see that around the head I made it a little bit brighter to create some depth into my monster. But of course you can see it's quickly painted. It's absolutely not a big deal, but yeah, you will be able to download these files with link in the description. The sky I won't be sharing, but you can just find it everywhere, wherever you try to look. So we're trying to find like a dark kind of sky, a stormy kind of looking sky with a lot of contrast. You can see that we have some shadows in here. We want a lot of detail in there. So this sky should do the job just fine. So what I'll do now is create an entirely new project. So I'm going to drag everything in a folder. I'm going to close all the compositions so we can start from scratch. And I'm just going to take the footage, the sky, and the monster, drag it out here. Okay. So what I'll do is drag my footage into a new composition, and this is what we have here. Great. Then I'm going to track down my footage, so that's my first task to do. So what I'll do is right click and create a new null object, and this is going to be our track data. Now we click on the footage, go to track motion, and if we zoom in here, we can make this a little bit bigger, and this is everything straightforward. I'm not going to explain too much about tracking. Plenty of tutorials on that. This is just to get the tutorial started. The easy stuff first. Okay, that seems to have done the job just fine. And then we'll go to edit target right here and select our track data null object and click OK, and go to the beginning of the timeline and hit apply X and Y. Okay, and there we go. We have our track data just the way we want it. So now our second job is to click on our footage and duplicate it. So we will go to edit and duplicate it. And then we're going to hit the return key and rename this to Luma key sky. So what we want to do is make the sky all white and all the rest black, so we have the sky keyed out so we can replace it with whatever sky we want. So what I'll do to do that is I will click on my footage, go to effect, color correction, and I like to use colorama for this one. It's such an amazing effect. We will just go into the output cycle, and I will just select use preset palette and go for ramp gray. Then I will click over here, make this white, and then I'll go over here, make this black. And actually, for me, this is already a preset. If I go and look it up, I can go for TC Luma key and TC Luma key right here. So if I apply that, I already have those buttons and I can just get started. So it doesn't matter, it's exactly the same. Just wanted to show you that it's maybe easier if you do a lot of sky replacements to just have a preset for it. So what I'll do is get my black button and just drag it closer to the white until we kind of start seeing this in the sky, which is not what we want. And then we want to drag the white one to make it all white. And I think this is a pretty good key, but as you can see, we still have some highlights in the actual foreground. So to fix those, we will go for a layer and create a new solid layer and make it black. This is going to, just click OK, and then we want to uncheck it so we don't see it. Then I'll go to the pen tool right here, and I will just key around these highlights just like that, so we can actually make a mask of the foreground, especially here in the house. We have a lot of highlights, and I wonder if my neighbors ever see this tutorial. They're probably thinking, what is my house doing in that video? Anyway, so we will just check this back on, and now we have a perfect key. Of course, if you have a lot of movement in your scene, you should go through the entire video and mask your mask to match, and so it doesn't leak out or something, but I'm not gonna do that because it's not a detailed sky replacement tutorial. We're going to click on the black solid and the Luma key sky, and then we will go for layer, pre-composite, and we're just going to rename this to Luma key sky. And it's very hard typing with one hand because the microphone is actually in front of me. So okay, click OK. So now we can uncheck that. We don't need to see it. It's just as a reference. So next up is to create the lightning effects. So to do that, I'm going to create a new composition and rename it lightning effects. Why not? And click OK. So in here, I want to do a few things. What I will do is create a new solid layer, and I'm just going to show you one principle or one way to do it. I will show you how I did it in my previous scene as well, but I'm not going to too much into detail because, yeah, it's basically the same workflow. It just takes more time. So in this case, I'm just explaining you what to do. So I will go for a solid layer that I just created, and then I will go for advanced lightning. So I'll search that right here, advanced lightning, and apply that to the solid layer. And there we have it. I don't like the glow settings, so I will just turn the glow radius to 0. And then for the core settings, I want to increase that a little bit so we see it a little bit better, but not too much. And then I want to alt-click and click on the stopwatch for the core radius. And here I want to apply a kind of preset, well, expression, I'm sorry. So the wiggle expression, wiggle, and open the parentheses and like 10 times a second. I want to change it like maybe 5 or 6 or 8, and then close the parentheses and click away. And now what I will do is actually make the lightning a little bit thicker and thinner. And sometimes it will actually even get out of screen because it's actually smaller than 0. We can also make it a little bit less here so we don't have the very thick lines and it disappears a little bit more often. And that way you get that nice flickering look on your lightning. The next thing I want to do is go over here in the direction. You can either put it over here. I want to go for an omni, which I think is a little bit cooler, and then put this on the side. And then what I want to do is also alt-click on a stopwatch for the conductivity state. If we click here, we can also apply a expression. This time we'll go for like time times 10. And actually my keyboard is kind of breaking, so that's why sometimes I can't really type that good. So I will click away, and by doing that, you will see that your lightning is actually rotating. So this is what I will do in this video example. Let me show you what I did in the other one. So in here, I did a few things. We have a bunch of layers. So yeah, this is actually nothing. So we have the first lightning, which is actually a growing lightning. And if you're going to press U on the keyboard, we will see these keyframes. And if you click on the lightning, you can see what I did here. So every keyframe, so one frame forward, it moves something like that. And that way you get this kind of growing lightning effect, which you see in the final result. And then I switched to another solid layer where I did the same that I'm just showing you right now, but I just duplicated it once and I made a variation of it so we have a little bit more lightning. And we can do that in this example as well. But first I will give it a color. So I will click on my lightning and go over here, and for the core color, maybe I want to go for a nice red color. So something like that, and click OK. Then duplicate that layer, edit, duplicate. Make sure you have the layer selected and not the effect. And then we want to kind of click on the advanced lightning over here and move it over here, maybe. So here we have a duplicate now, and as you can see, we have a little bit more variation, which looks very, very cool. So let's go back to our footage layer here, and we can go for a, well, in the project manager, and we can apply or drag our lightning effects into our composition. And now we have this, and actually we have to jump in here and create a new solid layer. call it BG for background, click OK and put it on the bottom. So we have a black background and there we go. So what I want to do now is click on my lightning effects layer and I want to go for effects and effect controls, go for effect, blur and sharpen, Gaussian blur. And I want to blur it up nicely like that and then repeat the edge pixels, get something like that. And this is going to be like our kind of subsurface scattering kind of effect. So we're going to use the Gaussian blur. Maybe you want to go for a color correction exposure to brighten it up if you want to. Then I will go for effect channel CC composite and that will bring up the actual original layer on top of that. But if we change a composite original to additive or screen, we can actually see it on top again. And now we can apply another effect. So effect, color correct, well, blur and sharpen and Gaussian blur. This time we want to do it a little bit less. And that way you start seeing this kind of nice transition, which is, yeah, pretty nice. So we're doing, so we are going to do that one more time. Effect, channel, CC composite, and also screen, effect, blur and sharpen, and Gaussian blur. And this should be enough. So now we have something like that. And this is going to be our background. So that's exactly what we need. And then next up, we need to create our kind of sky Luma matte, which is going to be a detail used. Well, this layer is going to use the detail of our new sky that we're now going to create. And that's going to create the final effect. So we'll do that. And if you don't follow, you just follow along with this tutorial and you'll get the ID. So what I'll do is create, again, a new composition. And I will rename this to Sky Luma. And click OK. And then we will drag in our sky, which we have right here. Position it just the way you want. Try to find a nice spot where we have a lot of things, like a lot of variation. I like this one. And we will go for effect, color correction, tint. So we have it black and white. And then we want to go back to our project manager and add our monster to our scene. And I'm going to head off to effects channel and invert that. So we have a white monster and we're going to make it screen and then just reposition it, maybe change it to like 45 scale and position it somewhere. And now if you go back to our original footage, we can also drag this layer or this composition, the Sky Luma, in here, also uncheck it. We don't need to see it. Then we can click on the lightning effects, which is this here. Let's go to a position where we have a nice lightning like this. And if we apply here the set matte, so we will search set matte, which is under channel set matte. We can choose this layer now, the Sky Luma, and invert that. And if you're going to solo our layer here. And now very importantly, we want to change our use for the matte and the alpha channel. This doesn't apply. We need to use the luminance, which is the white and black color. And now you will see that if we uncheck this or check it, you'll see that now it really affects the background based on what is white won't be shown and everything that's black will be shown. So if we go back to our Sky Luma, very easily we can create a new adjustment layer. And we can go for effect, color correction, and curves and make it all dark and all bright like that. Give it a lot of contrast. Maybe lower the opacity for the monsters. Press T on the keyboard and then lower it just a little bit. And if you go back now, you start seeing something like that, which is pretty cool. So, of course, this doesn't look perfect yet, and we want to make it look perfect. So the first thing I like to do is bring this lightning effects below our Luma key sky, which is the first key that we made with the white sky. And what I want to do here is just apply a solid composite and make it black. And now we start having something like that. So we're almost there. We want to click on that layer again, so on that composition, and then go for layer, pre-compose it one more time and click OK. And if we open that up here, we want to bring maybe the sky in the background again and make our lightning effects screen. And go for effect, color correction, tint. And again, make it maybe a little bit darker. Actually really dark like that. And give it a red color. Okay, and now we start having something like that, which is exactly what we want. And of course, you could go in here and animate that, or you can also like use a fractal noise that I have created in a different tutorial. So if you create a new solid layer, I will search for the atmospheric smoke, which is right here. And if I apply that in the background, you can get the kind of same idea. Or actually, I'm going to bring this one in here, okay, and make it like dark red. Okay, transform, make it like 1500, very big. And then we start also having some animation in there. Maybe make it even bigger, well, darker. But that's going to make for some very subtle animation in there. So that's not something that you have to do, but you could do that. All right, so I do still see some of the glow here of the lightning, so I don't want that. I will go to my lightning effects, go in here, and actually go over here and change the glow opacity to 0. Because that's not what I want. Okay. So that looks really good, actually. We can also maybe change the blur here a little bit more if you think that's a little bit too much. And then we can finally apply here a curves effect, which we will do later. And now we can go back to our main composition. So that's the footage. With our video here of the sky, we want to put that just below the luma key of the sky, which is the white part. If we check this on, this video layer, you want to make sure that's unchecked. Click on this layer and make it a luma matte, which is going to use the white information in order to replace our sky. So we can reposition our sky, make it bigger, smaller, all the things you want to do. And it's only going to be shown on that place where the sky is here. And then we can also click on this and bind it with the tracking data so it will actually move along with our footage, which is also exactly what we want. And then finally, we want to go to our original footage and quickly go for effect, color correction and curves, and bring like the highlights all the way down like this and give it a little bit of contrast. And then we want to go for effect, color correction, and we want to apply a tritone, which is kind of like that. And now we want to change the midtones to a nice red color, something like that. And now we start having something pretty cool. But one more thing we want to do here is go effect, color correction, and exposure. And we want to bring this down enough. And actually, let's see what kind of colors we can bring in here. And then alt click on the stopwatch for the exposure and go for wiggle, open parentheses 10 times, comma, like maybe 5, and close parentheses. And now we have some kind of animation also over here. Maybe it's a little bit too bright, so we can still bring this down, maybe give it more contrast. It's completely up to you. Blend it a little bit more with the scene so we still have some of the original colors. And like that, you start having something. So, and then lastly, on the sky effects itself, we want to go for an effect called color correction curves again, and give it a little bit more contrast. So we have a little bit more of the poppiness of the colors. And I do see in my Luma sky that we still have some detail, too much. So we can go in here and maybe play a little bit more with the cycle here. So maybe make it a little bit more white and less black. And that will kind of fix that. We can tweak it a little bit more, but that's not really for this tutorial. So what I'll just do is bring the highlights down even more. Okay, so now you don't really realize these things. That's really cool, but still the sky, I think there is not enough detail in here. So what I want to do here is I want to go in the sky Luma, scale it down a little bit so we have more detail of that sky to work with. And then I'll put it right here. And the more highlights and the more shadows you have, the more detail you will have in your sky. So that's a really cool trick to do that. And now you can start seeing in the highlights, it starts getting really cool. And then, of course, you can finalize it by playing around with the tritone effect. Maybe you want more darker colors, and then you get something like this. And now you can see that you have a lot more detail in your sky right here in the composition. You can still go over here to the lightning effects, play around with all these settings. Maybe you want to brighten up some of them, so you get a little bit more kind of a glow around them. Or maybe you want to lower and give it some more detail, which is pretty cool. And I honestly think it's a little bit too red. So to just finalize it, I will go for effect, color correction, tint, and set this to like 25. And then I want to
add a perfect glow, which is a preset that you can download for free on our website. And I'm going to lower the threshold, not too much, increase the radius a bit, and change this to 32 bits per channel. And that way we have a little bit more glow on our highlights so we can see before, after. And there you have it. It looks really cool. Of course, the foreground doesn't really flicker on the right timing. So what you could do is, like, for example, right here, there is barely any light and this is kind of the brightest shot. So of course you can do it manually, no problem. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Apart from that, check out our website. We have a bunch to offer for any kind of digital creative, and if you buy something from our website, it helps to support this channel. And apart from that, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.